Kim White with the My Sexy Business team. I am at the Hope to Hope conference, day number 4, with my co-host
Coni Meyers with Kick Butt Leadership.
We are excited about day 4. We're excited that this conference has already been bigger than the last one. When we first started, we were excited. We got, a few hundred people, and now we're up in the tens of thousands of people that are watching the conference, and we're impacting lives.
Yes.
Which was really why we started it. It started because almost 17 years ago, my son passed away, and I was in one of the darkest spots in my whole life. I didn't know if I was going to survive it, actually. You just don't know what you don't know. And so after coming through that and wanting to do something to celebrate his life, I figured out how to celebrate by serving. And when you serve in honor of someone else, I think it is so powerful. And this conference is definitely in his honor. And it is definitely making an impact on others' lives. So thank you for being with us this morning. Our beautiful speaker this morning, I am just thrilled that she's in my life, period. She is an amazing woman. She is, I think, all things money extraordinaire would be a better title than what she would call herself. She is a brilliant businesswoman and entrepreneur, and she has a master class to help people that are entrepreneurs but they don't have a clue how to actually do business. She has got all kinds of things that she offers. She has a thriving accounting service, bookkeeping service, and that does not even, to me, that's so small words compared to what she does. So welcome, DiAnna Olsen, to the Hope to Hope conference.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to clean up my introduction? You are welcome to, because I get so smitten with you and so excited.
Oh, I'm just glad to be here, and I'm so happy to be a part of this conference. It's amazing what's happening, and it's been amazing listening to all the speakers. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for participating, and thank you for saying yes again. You actually were on the last Hope to Hope, and you are so phenomenal. I could not even think about not having you come back.
Well, thank you.
So tell everyone, so that my introduction doesn't make it not the right way. Tell everyone your title or what you do, and so they understand.
Sure. So I started business about 30 years ago as just really wanting to kind of break through that glass ceiling. And so I'm the president of my company. It's an S corporation. And my purpose is going out and helping small business owners. So I feel like I've served that purpose if I have helped them transform in some way. And most of the time, that's to help them get completely organized with their finances and to understand them so that they can make sound business decisions, and that's really what it is just kind of coming alongside of them and partnering with them.
Well, I can tell you firsthand that not understanding your financials and not understanding your money, you can be so deceived in your decisions that you make, because you think it's one thing, but you don't understand how to read your financials. You don't know how to read to know what your health of your business is. And I think that is such a blessing that you are offering that to people. I wish I would have found you 30 years ago. That makes sense.
I think I learned more about my finances by doing all the wrong things. So,
and I think we learn by penalties that we're given, from the IRS or from, the local state governments. But it's one of those things where, once you have your financial house in order, it's really easy to maintain. And then it just gives you a peace of mind that everything is kind of dealt with and resolve, because like you, I mean, all of us as entrepreneurs, we're really good at what we do and we're very savvy at it, but not, financial keeping may not be, exactly what we're interested in or even passionate about.
I love numbers. Like I love knowing my numbers and I love all of that. But I honestly, if you locked me in a room and made me do like the books, I would feel like I was like in prison, I think, because I that's not my flavor. That's not what I want to do. And I don't serve well when I'm doing something outside my gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I teach leadership, I always tell people, you got to find what you're good at. And I always tell them, do not ask me to take care of bookkeeping. Do not ask me to do that, because that is not me. Let me know what the bottom line is, and that's all I care about. So you got to have people like you in this world to be able to help and support people like us.
Yeah. And that, that's one of the mottos, is because, you've had a dream somewhere along the line and you've kind of envisioned what that's going to be like and you're making that happen. But that's, in the behind the scenes, that's what we do really well. And so you can focus on what you're good at, and we can help you with the other things that maybe you're not as good at or as passionate about.
Well, and I can tell you one of the things that I learned, and it's been a long time ago, but I learned this well from doing it the hard way, is that a good financial advisor, financial planner, financial guru like you, I'm just saying, will always make you more money than they ever cost you.
Yes.
Because you don't know, and I say this all the time to my circle, it doesn't matter if you make $1 million. If it cost you $1,001 to make it, you did not make $1 million. I mean, and sometimes I get tickled at people that come in because I recognize myself in them. It's not that I'm passing judgment. I just recognize my own naiveness, in that arena when they come in and they're like, oh, I made my first $100,000. Well, how much was profit? And I don't know, but I made $100,000. And I'm like, oh, no, you gotta stop right there before you get yourself in big trouble.
Well, there's even little things such as being organized as an S corporation that can seem really overwhelming, and it can make people feel like, I just couldn't possibly do that. I don't want to have to manage it, but it could save them thousands of dollars. And the setup is so simple. And so that's what we do is, we just really try to make it simplified for people to implement, and then just kind of go on their way, so that they can kind of sleep at night and have, peace of mind.
So DiAnna, I think because this was a question I asked my accounting person when I was first setting up my company. I have an S corp, and what are some of the advantages in case somebody's out there that's wanting to set up a business or wanting to maybe rearrange how their business is being done? What is the benefits of having an S corporation?
Just on a really simplistic level, if you're making over $25,000 a year, you're going to benefit from becoming an S corporation. And, I'll say there's a caveat that there are instances where that might not be the case, and you have to evaluate each individual case. But there's a lot of advantages from not having to pay self-employment tax. And just as a small example, I saved myself initially $12,000 a year just because I became then an S corporation versus paying self-employment tax. So it's just little simple things like that. The ability to deduct some of your other business expenses that you can't necessarily if you are a sole proprietor. And so just having that knowledge, I think, really helps. But I think from a tax perspective, it was a huge savings for me to switch over to an S corporation. And once you have that system in place, it's really not difficult to just kind of implement every quarter or every year.
Yeah, and I think one thing, I don't know if the laws are the same around the country or not, but I know in Nevada, if you have an S corporation, there has to be 2 people in the S corporation. Otherwise, it reverts back to being a sole proprietor. Is that true in other states as well?
I'm not a professional expert in every different state's laws, and so you always have to check with the CPA just to make sure. But I know that I've been an individual owner of my S corporation for over 30 years in Minnesota, and I haven't had any problem as a sole owner. I'm 100% sole owner.
I was
So
just
it just
curious.
depends on each state.
So how did you find out or figure out that you loved doing this? Like, for you to be doing it for 30 years, you have to have like a great love for it, because it doesn't take me 5 minutes and I don't want to do it anymore. So what is it what happened in your life that made you realize this was really your gift? Because it is your gift. Like, you are amazing at it.
I think initially I think we are entrepreneurs first. I think before we sometimes figure out what it is that we're excited about. And I think we're kind of born with that entrepreneurial spirit. And so I knew I was really tired of the glass ceiling, and I was marginalized in several positions that I had. And I didn't know, though, exactly what it was that I was going to be really good at. And so I did have two other businesses before I started this one. And I initially failed successfully the first year at one of the businesses that I started. And it took off like a flame. I was $100,000 out of the gate, and then I just fell flat on my face because I didn't have enough capital. But that process kind of molded me into what is it that I'm really good at, and what can I do that serves other people? And so I slowly began. By the third business, in 18 months, I determined that what I was really good at was working with small business owners. But it takes, I think it's okay in that process to have successes and failures, because it helps you figure out, who you are. And I think the only reason I survived through that was there was a gentleman that I had heard say, if you want to tell me what you're really good at, I want to first hear about your failures. And so that kind of gave me permission to be like, I've learned from this. So it was an important process.
Well, and I have the opinion that you should fail faster. That when you start to do something, and I always laugh and say I'm a cliff jumper. I'm willing to take a risk if I think it's going to give me clarity, and I'm going to move closer to what I really want. And so I will take calculated, of course, but I will take giant risks to get to what I really think I should be doing. And I think some of that is what, like you did. I think that's something you did not knowing that was something you should do. But I think when you don't take any action, you cannot gain clarity to know what you really should be doing. I think you have to be moving so that God can direct that car. You can't steer a parked car. And
yeah,
That's a great way of putting it.
That's something a lot of entrepreneurs are scared of that. Pride-wise, we're scared of it because nobody really, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, no one really believes in what we're, babbling about. And they're kind of waiting for us to, figure things out. And we perceive that they are waiting for us to fail. And we're so afraid to fail and so afraid our pride is going to be bruised or, damaged, that we won't take those risks. And I think that's one of the secrets to doing things big is when you are okay with failing and you're okay with, I tried this and it didn't work.
But you always learn something. Anytime that happens, there's always a lesson there that you needed to learn. I always just call failure a course correction because it helps to move you forward into a success.
Absolutely. And you're right. I love the point that you talk about, that you have to be active and you have to move in order to find that out, because we can be paralyzed by trying to perfect something. And we might be trying to perfect something that we're not even really good at. And so I think we have to go through that process and allow ourselves, that this is a natural part of the process of becoming an entrepreneur and finding out what we're really passionate about. And it's okay.
Well, and I just admire you. I mean, you know, anyone that can come in and be open is definitely my flavor, because I think being open and transparent so other people who are struggling, or maybe they're licking their wounds this morning over, you know, okay, this didn't work, now I should just quit and go, you know, go back to my 9 to 5. That may not be the answer. I mean, it may be something that's, you know, for a season, but if you really are truly an entrepreneur, it's going to take those bruised times. It's going to take those, what we feel like are failures, to actually get to what the really impactful stuff is.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I would really encourage entrepreneurs to really sit down and kind of journal. As you know, as trivial as this sounds, I think it's really important to dream and to visualize and to try to figure out what it is that we need. But yeah, and I think in the world that we live in, everyone expects us to be perfect. And that includes any business that we start. But if you talk to any successful entrepreneur, you will find failures before they found what they're really good at. And that's, you know, that's a great message to communicate to people, to give them hope.
I have a friend who's a billionaire, and, you know, that's not what makes him awesome. I'll just tell you, it's not his dollar amount that he's earned. He's impacted millions of lives by what he does. And that's what his heart is it's serving, and the money just followed. You know what I mean? It wasn't that he set out to make that much money. And he told me I need to fire faster. Like, if I get team members that don't work, I need to disconnect immediately. I need to take those big risks. I mean, those were the things that he said. And here he was, you know, on a level that most people only dream about and won't even get there. And that was his best advice, was to do it faster. Like, we think we need to, you know, we think we need, my puppy, I'm so sorry. Come here. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
But that
I know
was,
somebody.
Come here.
Somebody had told me one time that if you do, you know, find what you love and do what you love, and if you're totally sold into it and you absolutely love what you're doing, that the money will follow. And it does. It happens every time.
Always. Absolutely always. It's like my life motto is have fun, give back, make money, in that order. And if you're having fun and you're giving back and living your passion, the money will always show up.
Absolutely.
I will add one more thing to that, though. You do have to have your house in order.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You have to know how much you're spending, where you're spending it. You know, and organizational processes are really, they're actually much simpler than we think they are to put together. And once it's in place, you know, it's just that discipline and that consistency of keeping it up.
Well, and I will be honest, when I first had, like, what I would consider my major disaster, you know, financially, because I didn't understand how to even use my money. Like, I knew how to make money, but I didn't know how to take care of it. Didn't know how to honor the process or steward it. And I can remember, you know, thinking that if I took care of the money, there's no way I could actually do what I wanted to do. I would have to spend, you know, 50 hours a week on my financial stuff because, you know, of the number of transactions or the number of, you know, clients and stuff. And I laughed whenever I figured out that having someone like you in my corner, it took me looking at the end result. Like, it wasn't expensive like I thought it was going to be.
No.
And it wasn't time consuming like I thought it would be.
Right. And a lot of times when you set that system up, you can have somebody, you know, essentially do the financials for you with just a little bit of your input each week that you provide, you know, and literally for very, you know, small, flat monthly fees, you can have financial statements delivered to you and say, oh, this is how much I own in my business, and this is how much I owe, you know, and here's what my equity is. And it's nice to get to that point. Very simple.
Well, if someone wants to like connect with you on this, like this conference, and you already know this, but this conference is no selling and no recruiting. We're not trying to sell anybody anything. We just want to give, honestly, hope to people who are in that place that I've been for sure, of having no idea what to do to fix it, having no idea what to do to, be organized in it, having no idea, period, I think would be the best way to put it. My first business was when I was 16, and
Wow.
we were making money, and I hated it. Like I hated that business because I was a teenager and I wanted to run up and down the streets and do what I wanted to do. And I was stuck inside, a building doing what I was doing because it was a brick and mortar. And that was a learning lesson that I needed for all my life. Like I needed to understand that. But I can remember even at 16 feeling very distraught over having no idea, things swirling around, and having no idea how to get organized in even in my mind, I didn't know how to get organized in business. And so I believe that is how I've met a lot of people that are even older than I am that still haven't figured that out, and they have sweated, for years that they would get audited, or they've sweated for years that something would happen because they don't know someone that can help them without judgment, like you, who can help them straighten it out.
And there is no judgment because we're trying to build a business, or we're in a business that maybe is going through transitions. And that's all a part of doing business. And so we really, I have a website, masterplanconsulting.org, and so they could always reach out if they'd like to find out more information. And we do have classes. We do have, we basically have plans that we can tailor to each individual based on their needs.
I love it. I have like several peeps that need to come see you like today. But thank you for sharing, because I think, just being honest about like our failings brings hope to people. Being honest about needing to be organized or needing, things to be set in order. I think those are things that most people feel like are taboo. You don't talk about this because then somebody will think I'm not successful and they won't want to, buy from me or whatever. And it's really just the opposite. If I know you are trying to get things organized, I'm going to be more drawn to you than if you're pretending.
Well, and I think sometimes it's okay to ask a few questions. Sometimes we go beyond that accounting scope and we ask them if they're the right fit in that right chair, and what are their strengths and their passions, because sometimes we're just maybe a little misaligned with how we communicate and whether we're introverted or extroverted. And when we can understand those strengths, then we can really focus on what we're good at and feels comfortable to us.
Well, and then that's a great tool, because many of us, we might be heading down the right path, but we just need a little adjustment,
Yeah.
So having somebody like you to be able to help say, okay, because you're looking at it from a completely different perspective than probably anybody else would. So I think that's a wonderful tip and thing that you do.
Yeah.
I think this is almost a double interview, because I don't want to we're actually close to end of the time, but I don't want to stop here because I definitely want to talk about Life on the Border. I definitely want to talk about your nonprofit.
Yes, that sounds good. Where do you want to start?
Tell us a story, because I want everyone to understand how amazing not only you are in business and taking care of people, but you actually literally hands-on take care of people in a whole another way that is so, to me, so sexy, because it's a lifestyle for you.
It is. I mean, we kind of live it and breathe it. But I was working on a paper in my master's class, and I ended up down on the border. We had done some previous mission work, my husband and my family. In fact, we've been going to orphanages since my girls were 5 years old. and all they could do was kind of pick up rocks and paint doors or whatever, but they wanted to be involved. And so as they got older, and we'd been on several different mission trips, I started really feeling like there was a problem at the border of Mexico and the US, and really wanted to research and find out what that problem was. I kind of went into it with one thought process, that a lot of the agricultural workers that we have that come from Mexico, I didn't know why they were coming here. And it turns out that NAFTA, to make a long story very short, did create problems for some of the agricultural workers. And I thought that the individuals would be at the border of Mexico. And so I flew down there a couple times to do interviews and to find out, where these migrant workers were and how they had been kind of misplaced from their jobs. But what I found was something completely different. I didn't find any agricultural workers, but I found a community that was in real need of medical care. They were underserved. They couldn't find the $3 for the bus ride to get to the resources that they did have as a country. And we started recognizing that there was just a great amount of despair on the border. And so what we started doing, and I literally sat down at my desk and went through, a 50-page document to become a 501c3. But it wasn't that as hard as I thought it was going to be. And so we started a nonprofit organization, and now we've grown to the point where we take nurses and doctors down to the border of Mexico, and we provide health fairs. Because medication is unsustainable, we try to help them find ways that how can I naturally take care of myself without spending, money that I don't have, and without being able to be on medication because it's unsustainable. And then we also do eye surgeries, both pterygium and cataract surgery. And so we are starting a new surgical program where we will go down to the border 4 times a year and do eye surgeries. So the next one is September 8th. So we would love to share photos and stories, of how we help there on the border.
Wow, that's amazing. I can totally appreciate what you're doing, because when we go to Mazatlan, there's a free clinic that the Friends of Barone have put together for the little village of Barone. And the difference that's made in that village is just amazing. So for what you're doing is just incredible.
I think, when we first went there, we thought, this is just so much more than we could ever possibly do. There's so much need. Where do you even start? And so I kind of grabbed onto the starfish story where, we just come alongside of one person and we make a difference in one life at a time. And that's the only way that we can continue to serve and not be, overwhelmed.
That, the starfish is one of my favorite things on the planet, because that is what that is what I have felt like most of my life, is that people kept telling me you can't make a difference, and we do make a difference. It might be one starfish, but we make a difference. And now yes. I have come to the point, and you also have come to this point, to realize that we're not just influencers of one starfish, we're influencers of the people that are throwing the starfish back. Like I say this all the time, and it's not a prideful thing, but I'm an influencer of influencers. And
yes,
the little girls and boys that, we're throwing the starfish back in the story, that's who we influence now.
Yes. Now instead of walking on the beach alone, you have many people on that beach with you, helping to throw hundreds of thousands of starfish back.
Exactly. I actually got up this morning, and I don't want to get off track, but I actually got up this morning and thought this conference will be at 1 million viewers soon. And it's not because this one is going to do that. I don't know what it will do, but it was just a knowing this morning that when I was throwing that one starfish back in the beginning and we had a few hundred, that we will reach 1 million viewers on this conference soon.
That's great. That's amazing.
It's exciting.
And it gives them, yeah, it's very exciting. I think people need to see individuals come alongside of them, and to also realize the authenticity in them and the transparency. That we didn't just, we didn't show up, nor are we still like just these brilliant people that show up somewhere and do something. We're just these humble people who decide to take action and, pick up a broom and start sweeping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And not afraid to pick up a broom. That's the other part.
Yeah.
We're not afraid to do the one starfish or the one messy floor or the one messy business or the one messy whatever. And I've done my whole life messy. Like, I am a hot mess, and I usually lead with that because it takes all of the expectations down. If you think I'm going to be perfect, let me just help you out with that right in the beginning of the conversation.
Yes. And that's what people need, because I think there's, especially with all the social media today, I think that, especially women, I think that we kind of walk around with this idea that everybody else is perfect and we're not. And, I just always tell everybody, welcome to the real world, because there isn't one of us living on this planet that's perfect.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, and I want to say publicly, just don't be mad at me, but I want to say publicly how much I appreciate you in my life, because you are one of my biz besties, and your immediate response to anything is, how can I help you? Like, you have said that to me repeatedly, and you don't know what that means to me when I have and am surrounded by people like you who truly care about people. Like, they truly care and want to help in whatever way that they can help. And it blesses me, because this conference almost didn't happen. And Christy's mad at me because I keep saying something about it. But if she would not have done the scheduling part, we would have been scheduling 5 minutes before each interview, because I couldn't get it all done. And I appreciate every time I get that message from you. You've made me cry more than once. I'll just tell you that, because I am so blessed by you and blessed that you are in my life. So thank you publicly for being an amazing biz bestie and friend and an amazing human being.
And thank you so much for all the ways you're serving those folks on the border. That's really, that is an incredible thing to be doing.
Well, and we have, if I have just a quick second, I want to say that we don't have to go internationally to help others. It can be in our backyard, that we can be helping somebody who's just simply a neighbor, and it still changes the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, Christy's on and Angela's on. Angela, you're so cute. She says you are perfect just the way you are, Kim. She likes hot messes, obviously. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning, and it's such an honor to always have you, like, in my life and in this capacity. I love that you're a speaker for so many. Like, you offer hope to so many people. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, this is like the day 4 finale of the conference, and I can't stand it.
I can't believe we're on the last day, really.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So who are you?
Who am I? I'm Coni Meyers. I'm Coni Meyers with Kick Butt Leadership.
She's my beautiful co-host, by the way. And I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business team. We will be back at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We're in the U.S., but we now have had 6 countries represented in this conference. In this conference alone. So I am so excited. And I don't even know if we said DiAnna was coming from Mexico, like, on this call. So I'm excited that we are internationally reaching starfish all over the world. So thank you guys for being with us.